Hey Brickmaniacs, welcome back to another Designer Studio episode. Once again, continuing the hashtag Homefront Bricks month here in December. Another crazy unique model, another kind of first for you and U.S. Forest Service. Definitely not something Brickmania has trekked over into before.
No, not at all.
So this is the C-23B Sherpa.
Right.
Which we actually saw at EAA. Oh my goodness.
It was a year and a half.
Over a year ago, yes. Oh my
goodness. This is a project that's been in the can for a while. We've been talking about doing it. We met Shane. He was he is a pilot for the U.S. Forest Service.
Yep.
Gave us a really in-depth, detailed tour of the aircraft that was there. It was actually an A model, a 23A Sherpa. It's the sort of the previous model of the Sherpa. This is the current one. When we started talking about doing the model, we decided we're going to do the current one because they were in the process of phasing out that A model that we got the tour of. Overall, basically the same airplane, but the B has a little bit more bells and whistles, slightly more upgraded, better everything because it's just new.
But they are taking the A's and turning them into B's. It's not like a complete restructure.
Well, I think what they were doing is upgrading the A's until they couldn't upgrade them anymore, and the B's are complete. It's a game changer. They can do so much more stuff. So they're getting more B's from. I believe they're getting them from either the Air Force or the Army. One of the services is rotating theirs out. I don't remember which one. I'm sure you can look it up. It's not that hard to find out.
Sure.
But one of the services is rotating them out. I know the Air Force uses them because it's just the right length to fly a F-16 or F-15 engine inside of one of these. And why would you take an really big, expensive plane to fly a replacement engine out to one of your air bases when you could? This is like the perfect model. Basically it is a cargo plane, and you can have that. There's a ramp in the back, blah blah blah. But so that's why the Air Force has them. But they know, and they also Army uses them for parachute training.
Oh sure, that totally makes sense. You can definitely see the parachute transition, especially for a basic or wherever.
Right. When you have a small group of people, you don't need to take out a huge aircraft to do parachute jumps when you have a small cargo plane that would do the trick much cheaper and more effective.
Can do different heights and stuff, etc. too. So a couple of things I noticed about this from first of all, I actually stood inside the A model aircraft, and still when Dan was building it, I was like, that's huge. That's so much bigger than I remembered it being. This thing is actually almost comparable to the SU. It's bigger than the Su-27. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's a cargo plane, and you'd have, if you had seats in this, you could actually put, in the real thing, you'd have multiple passengers down it. It is a commercial jet, or not jet, a prop.
A five-prop plane, which is kind of
it does have
a wild-looking thing.
Yeah. So that there's some pretty wild build aspects to this thing. I'm just looking at it. This is the first time today is the first time I've seen it all built. Of course, I break it. Let's get this thing. It's on its landing gear right now, but it does have this really cool stand that comes with it. We just put the stickers on. Just minutes ago, I got the printed pieces, and there are a ton of printed pieces with this kit.
Yeah, it has definitely. These last couple of models, there's been just absolutely nothing held back. You guys saw the Doomsayer pub. We've really pushed that printing as far as we can possibly go, and this plane is another wonderful example, especially with that underwing printing that he'll show you in a minute.
Well, this is pretty nuts. We should also kind of couch that with, we can't do every model like this. Printing isn't something that we can just push a button and out comes a printed piece.
That's very true.
It takes a skilled crew of Brickmania printers who've been doing this for years to print this, and it's a model like this with dozens of printed parts is it basically sucks our whole team into it almost for a week just to do printing, and how come you can't restock these figures?
Because we're doing no, that is true.
It is a finite resource, and these printers cost tens of thousands of dollars, and the years of skilled practice getting these things to get them to work right.
The UV team is not easy to be trained in on just right away, especially with all the stuff you guys see now with the cross element printing, trying to line that stuff up. It is super, super labor intensive.
And these printers aren't designed for that sort of precision. They're we're supposed to be printing lighters and golf balls, we're going to do something a little bit more detailed. So, it's getting the artwork. Lando will go over all that. It's a process from beginning to end just to make sure that everything works out right. This has a lot of as you mentioned, a lot of cross element printing. I don't necessarily like to do that. Started it on the Warspite, did some detail printing. I don't like to substitute printing for parts, but there's just sometimes you just if I want to make something work and look cool, we can print it, which we've done on this. We did on the Warspite. We did a little bit on the Su-27 actually too. So
Okay.
that's where it started. It's kind of a slippery slope. Like, ooh, we can do all this new printing. So, but I'm kind of like, let's not go overboard because
Right.
it is still Lego, and we want to use the brick to build it as much as possible, whenever possible.
Yeah, you don't want to use it as like a crutch or a compensation. Plus, whenever you can capture something like that in bricks instead of printing, more figures, more things to put, what I mean? Less pressure on UV, which is always something we're trying to achieve.
Right,
So,
and we're trying to get away from stickers. Stickers are cool, but stickers are still stickers. And when we can do something really unique that's not going to tear, not going to rub off, we can apply the sticker wrong. When the printing's already on it, you don't have to worry about it. So, we should just talk about the actual airplane itself. It's a pretty unique aircraft. It is a cargo plane in the sort of the spirit of the old traditional airplanes, where we can like fly into, like, say, rough runways, grass airstrips. It's definitely meant. It's built. The company that makes it's from Ireland, but this is used by users all over, operators all over the world, because you can get into those unfinished airstrips. You can land on a grass airstrip. So the Forest Service loves it for that reason. You're out in a base in Montana. It may not be like the most like
smooth landing.
It may not even be a concrete strip. You could be landing on a grass field. That's what this is designed for. It's heavy duty. It is rugged. We have operators that are our customers, and they've told us about. We've spent thousands of hours in these things, and they love the users love it. They love it for its ruggedness, its durability. It's kind of a no nonsense, forgiving aircraft. You go out and look up YouTube videos on it. It's
the jumping videos too. If you actually look up the Smokejumpers, the people who jump out of these crafts too, it is mind-boggling. You kind of see it in the action shot on the website actually, just how close they are to these flames. Because I mean, that is their job, is to get from behind the lines to the front line to battle this forest fire. And what a harrowing job. There's no way they make enough money. It's not possible.
Right, and the way that they do this, they basically. They're not doing like a high altitude jump where they're like jumping and then floating down happily on their parachute. They will circle around. The process is this. So they identify where the landing zone is going to be, where they need to insert the smoke jumpers. And they have these guys. So the crew here, which Lana will go over, the white helmet guys, they're like basically flight technicians. They call them spotters. They will like throw out streamers out of the airplane when they go over their proposed drop site for these guys. And they'll watch which way the wind's blowing. They'll line up the airplane the best possible way. So they'll basically circle around to the spot where they deem this is where they got to go. When they hit that spot, a couple of smoke jumpers will go out. Parachutes deployed instantly. They're that low to the ground. So parachutes deployed, and they keep circling around until all the smoke jumpers have dropped out into the same spot. 6, 8. I don't know the exact amount that they can hold it. And then they'll chuck all the equipment out too.
Right.
So they basically parachute equip all the equipment. So we have this crate here. That's the chainsaw and the crate represent the gear.
The equipment.
So they basically take a cardboard box, fill it with all their stuff, and chuck it out. And everything that they are going to use comes with them. They don't get any more resupply unless they meet up with a ground element or something.
Right.
And it's interesting is that the boxes, they use cardboard boxes so they could just. It'll biodegrade. They just take what they need out of the boxes, leave the boxes. It'll either burn up or disintegrate over time. So
what a job! Wow.
Right. So they're doing some pretty crazy, flying, basically doing loops low to the ground. It's not like an easy task. It's not like you're just going from A to B. You're actually doing your jobs. Spotting for the smoke jumpers, inserting them, potentially going back and getting more supplies for them. So. You are flying. You're not a taxi. You're a cargo truck. You're doing all kinds of other stuff. And they'll take like these aircraft. They're based all over the country, and they will actually go to where the fire is.
Right.
So if they're in Montana and they need the smoke jumpers in Idaho, California. They will actually obviously use their local assets first. But when it gets really big, really busy, these guys will be flying all over the country. So.
So they have their own color schemes, correct? And this one is done the Missoula smoke jumpers. All of the Forest Service planes look like this. Okay, fair enough.
So they're all this sort of red and white stripe. So if you go back, you could look at they've flown C-47s. They have all kinds of aircraft. So before they were using this, they were using World War II vintage C-47s, DC-3s basically. So World War II surplus C-47s. They've had other aircraft. You can see U.S. Forest Service. They have rotary aircraft as well. helicopters and stuff. But this is their smoke jumper plane now. This
Right.
is the desk. They have smaller planes for doing other tasks, but for actually inserting the smoke jumpers, this is it. They all look like this. This is the current one. So the C-23B has all of these windows because that was originally integrated in the design.
Oh, okay.
The 23A never had windows in it. It's like you could expand it to have windows. And there's gaps in the windows because there's like, it's critical like wiring and fuel hoses and stuff going down the bulkheads there, so they couldn't actually cut all the windows when this Forest Service got them surplus from whoever was operating before that. So I think they might have even been commercial aircraft. So,
Okay.
So the Forest Service put the windows in. The B is factory equipped with all the windows in it. So you actually has all of the windows. That's why the first time I built, if you look at my Instagram, you'll see that I had gaps in it. And then when Shane said, "Yeah, we want the B," I'm like, "All right, well, I'll
Let's
reconfigure
put some
it."
windows
So,
in. Yeah, okay. Probably easier in Lego to do that than on the actual aircraft.
Yeah. Well, they did it in the real ones, but they just couldn't do all of them.
Right.
This is factory design. So when the Army or whoever the previous owner was using them, they had all the windows in it already. So it didn't take so much conversion for the Forest Service to do it. So
Very cool.
A couple of years ago when we talked to Shane, or a year and a half ago, they were just getting their first B model. I think it was just coming online. Now I think it's standard through all the Forest Service. So they have this plane. You'll see this particular Shane, who we met, is based out of Missoula. There are other Sherpas scattered throughout the country. They're not the only one. So.
Very, very cool build. Well, going just into some of the techniques as well. So I talked a little bit about this when we saw the prototype model initially. First of all, the fuselage to wing ratio seems like something that is a little absurd when you see it in Lego.
Ridiculous.
It is really, really, wow. First of all, look at that. That's impressive. But second of all, look at that fuselage to wing ratio. You'd think that maybe that's just like not scaled properly, but if you look at the actual aircraft, that is exactly how it looks. And then also I had to laugh a little bit so the top of the fuselage you can see kind of bubbles up.
It's like a hump.
Yeah, like there's a hump in it. So, amateur Lego builder, if I'm building that thing, it's going to be a rectangle. I don't know how the heck you captured that kind of bump up there with that, but it definitely is something that you notice being very significant. If that was missing, your eye would catch it right away.
Right. Well, that is part of the way the airplane looks, and apparently the reason that hump is up there is because there's no room for fuel tanks in these wings. That wing is just structural.
Oh,
it's holding. Obviously it holds the airplane up in flight, but there's no. It's just thin. It's like razor thin. I've heard it called a Hershey bar of a wing.
It kind of is. That's actually a really good way to describe it. That's what it looks like.
So, but up above here, that's all fuel tanks. So there are multiple fuel tanks. Because I was noticing when we were doing the tour, like there's. The ceiling
Why is it so low?
is not. It's definitely lower than you would think because you look at the shape of the aircraft. But it's because the fuel tanks are all up there. So the fuel's on top, which actually is a kind of ingenious because it's up there at the same height of the engine, so it doesn't need to be pumped very far.
Yeah, sure.
So it is a twin engine. These are like twin turboprops. Super efficient. I mean, you ask why do they still use prop aircraft when you can. There's lots of reasons, but fuel economy. These are really fuel efficient engines.
Yeah.
They can use for a little fuel. They can hover around an area for quite a long time. So
Okay.
It is a very fuel efficient, comparatively speaking to jets, and also these things because they're props. They have a way slower stall speed. They can get in lower, going slower. Survey the territory. I did build this thing so you can take off these humps.
I love that. I love that.
So you can get
accessible interiors make me happy.
You can rip this middle wing off, but it's a little bit more.
Sure.
It's a little bit more involved because you have to actually rip the wing struts
But there's
off.
where you load up your smoke jumpers.
Right. It does have the door, so there's a cargo door here. When they're in flight, this door obviously doesn't open because the wind will just buffet it. They have a door here, and it's not. When they're flying, they actually take the door off.
Right.
I have it built in here, but it's made so you can take it off because they will exit the aircraft through this door. It does have this cargo ramp in the back. The A model has a cargo ramp just so you can load it, but the B model has the same cargo ramp, but has the capability of opening in flight, which they can't do with the A model. So they could. So I think with the methodology now, they used to throw everything out the side door. The methodology now is smoke jumpers go out the side door, cargo goes out the back door. Goes off the back ramp.
Yep.
I should say. The one thing I did notice I got wrong, which I goofed up, is I followed the red striping around the whole aircraft onto the back ramp. And
it's a ramp white?
After this whole thing was done and we were so far along the project, I was like, hey, wait a minute. They they didn't paint, the door is not painted red, it's just white. So,
well, if you ask me, that's something the smoke jumper should consider doing now, because I like the red wrap.
They're going to have to do it. Another thing unique to the B model is this second entry door. That's not in the one that we toured didn't have that. Did not
only
have that
one.
door.
Yep.
There are a couple of escape hatches in the actual aircraft. I did not put in here.
Sure.
I didn't want to weaken the structure. It's one of those things like you have a choice between structurally sound and detail, and I like to err on the side of structurally sound.
Especially for an aircraft.
Right.
You want to swoosh your aircraft. It has to be swooshable.
Yeah, and this one does have a stand too. This is sort of like the last of the old school Brickmania aircraft stands. I put a stand with it because it's just, it does have, the landing gear do go up and down, but I just wanted to make sure that
it looks really good.
Yeah, and you can adjust that stand horizontal, vertical, any way you really want to do it. So, but I wanted to make sure that came with it. That was a feature. It does, of course, have all the ailerons and flaps do what they're supposed to do. The rudders.
I love that twin rudder look in the back. It's just a cool looking craft.
Right, and if they have the twin rudder, that means they can have a lower profile. So say you're out in a small airfield or something, you had a big giant rudder on there, you're gonna have a really hard time finding a hangar you can put those
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
So yeah, this whole thing is designed for smaller operators to use, and I'm really impressed. But for the size of aircraft this is, you don't see these kind of aircraft for commercial cargo operators. It's just it's jets, gigantic jets, or small prop planes, and this is sort of that perfect in between size. Not nearly as big as a C-47. Actually, totally modern by comparison. So.
Yeah, and yet still has that completely classic aircraft look to it, like you were saying earlier, of that cargo plane. And then I think it's just a cool time for this project to come around, considering everything that has been happening the last 4 years and how relevant the U.S. Forest Service has been. We pretty much hear yearly now about the challenges that they face, especially out west. Yeah. And so to be able to kind of build something like this is props to the work the incredible work that these smoke jumpers do, and then just something that's fits the theme of home front bricks while remaining an incredibly unique build that Brickmania has never even attempted before. So
yeah, this is a new theme. It was a fun thing. We had talked to Shane about doing this project. He had requested it, and we were like, well, we can certainly do it. How are we going to fit it into our schedule?
Right.
And the whole idea of themes started coming up, well, let's do home front, and it would be perfect because we can highlight firefighters, law enforcement, or just production workers, which are kind of the unsung heroes as well. So especially during World War II, when everybody got involved in the war effort.
Yeah, especially here on the home front.
Yep.
Hashtag home front bricks. Anything else you want to go over on the model itself before we turn things over to Landon?
Well, we should point out that this comes with the Crew 4, which Landon will go over. It also comes with the ability, the option of buying 4 smoke jumpers. Right? It is worth it. Everything we've done for this is kind of like pushing the envelope. And we've never done just a straight up cargo plane before, so this is cool. This is a civilian. I don't know, U.S. Forest Service. I guess it's a federal branch, but it's definitely not a military branch.
They definitely go into harm's way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that is definitely safe to say. And actually, let's hear a little bit more about those people diving into harm's way, because we have the smoke jumpers to go over as well as the crew for the Sherpa. So let's turn things over to Landon, hear a little bit more about that. Okay, so along with the Sherpa comes a crew, plus we have the option to add on the smoke jumpers.
Nice.
So let's start with what actually comes with the kit itself, and then we'll jump into the smoke jumpers. Oh,
awesome.
that was not intentional, and I'm sorry.
I'm really pumped about this chainsaw, first of all. I think this is a Brickmania first.
That's what you lead with, huh?
I am so freaking
Crew of 4
pumped.
people. He
I am
goes,
so
I'm really
pumped.
psyched about the chainsaw.
I am so psyched about this
Good,
chainsaw.
man. Good. Take it away.
It's got a custom Brickmania branding on it. Build. The chainsaw line. BHILD.
Cool.
That's our chainsaw line that we're going to produce one of these days. I think that'd be cool. Pilots and some spotters back there. Okay, so this guy, he's got this harness on here. So he's in the back of the plane, right? Making sure that the smoke jumpers get to their destination. He's got a harness on so he doesn't fly out the freaking back.
So he's the guy who's stationed at this little jump drawer door here.
Yep. And so he's got that helmet on so he can communicate with the pilots up front. Got pilot and co-pilot. So you get 2 of those guys. Yep. And so the pilot and co-pilot, they're just in their standard kind of flight suits. Mm-hmm. And then of course you got this awesome crate. I'll count that as a minifigure. Why not?
Yeah, show it off. It's cool printed.
It's a minifigure. Why not? So this is what they'd kick out the back.
His name's Ben Crate.
So yeah, it's essentially it's just a cardboard box with some like ratchet straps on it, and so they would throw that out first, and then the pair jumpers would go next. The smoke jumpers would go next, and so they don't this doesn't fall on top of their heads, right? I guess that's the thought. This is all their supplies would be in here, some food, all the
Enough for 48 hours, I think, is what they're equipped with.
There we go.
Before they have to resupply.
Last but not least. There's some cool stuff going on the head. Obviously, this 3D printed headgear, really, really awesome new headgear for the pilots there, with the printing on there, and then these really cool pilot helmets as well. Oh, their faces, sunglasses. We hit that with a layer of gloss.
So they sheen?
Their sunglasses are extra shiny.
Cool.
Yeah. So that comes with the kit.
The printing techniques expand. Yeah, that's an awesome little crew. I have a feeling it was cool to hear from some of the operators.
Yeah.
That they just, it's one of those things they absolutely never expected to see in Lego,
Right.
especially in minifig form. So way to go to the 3D print department for getting those hats put together. And
well, it was fun actually walking through this thing at EAA and getting some footage of the actual planes. That was really helpful. And then they had like a mannequin set up with the smoke jumper. And that was really nice getting this is actually what they're wearing.
How rare of an occurrence is that for you? Considering how far back some of the figures, I mean, first of all, dude just finished a Revolutionary War chess set.
Yep.
So you don't get to see any physical replications of what that stuff looked like. But how awesome is it for you? So yeah, we're moving over to the smoke jump now. Getting able to actually take a look at that uniform face to face, take some pictures of it, or at least the pictures that you need.
Right.
Because I'm assuming that just like a full shot of a uniform, sure, that helps if you can find it online, but if you get to see it in person, you're probably taking pictures of some more specific things.
Yeah. Just getting the full 360, seeing where trying to trace where all these parachute harness straps go. I mean, that's just a spider web. I didn't even include all of them. There's probably like another, 50% more little straps that secure everything together. But this is, I think, a good, representation at this scale of where all these parachute straps go. So we have a brand new parachute on the back that's 3D printed in-house, and then we printed on top of that the little the cord for the.
Right.
So they'll clip on before they jump out, and then as they jump out, it'll deploy the parachute.
Yeah, because they're dropping super low.
Yeah. And then, it's, what else? That face, so we're trying out some different techniques. This is UV printed directly onto the face of this guy, and it's that kind of crash cage, because they're jumping into a forest, and there's a good chance that they can come in contact with some trees. They usually aim for clearings, I'm assuming, but sometimes, they go off course or something, and it maybe might come in contact with a tree. So
yeah, which you guys went over a couple of different ways to attempt to simulate that, and this was definitely the one that looked the most realistic without kind of looking silly.
Sure.
Because you got very hockey helmet very quick when you're adding something, and that's partially because Lego likes the oversized face mask look.
But I don't even know if you could get a good. We weren't able to find a good quantity in the colors we needed, so we opted to try and make it in-house. The profile is actually really close to the actual scale of it.
I love that.
In real life. So this is we're trying out something new. Let us know what you think. We're always just trying new different things. So
the standalones for those absolutely flew off the shelf. So we snuck another batch into production. So we're hoping to have some more back online within the near future.
Yep.
Obviously, you can still get them with the Sherpa, but we'll see about the standalones because that's it's
an interesting figure.
I feel like I say this all the time, so maybe it's dumb because but it's like what a unique figure.
What a unique figure. Well, we're not going to make boring figures. We're going to make awesome, cool figures.
I agree, but this one just is not one I would have ever expected to see in the lineup. So that's kind of cool from that standpoint.
Yeah, these they're decked out with this protective suit. Huge pockets around the legs too. That's their if they get hung up in a tree, there's a drop line in there. So they got all their supplies on them that they need to get out of a tree. And then, there's so much cool stuff. The reserve sheets on the front.
What a crazy job.
Yeah. Very crazy.
Some brave people do that job. Well, very cool. There you have it. That is the crew and the optional smoke jumper add-on that comes with the Sherpa. That'll do it for the Designer's Desk episode. Stay tuned. We're hoping at some point on our YouTube channel to drop the entire interview that Dan did with the gentleman who was flying the Sherpa from EAA a couple of years ago now. It'll be kind of a long one because we go through the entire plane, etc. So we know it won't be for everyone. That's why we didn't cram it into this video.
Right.
But we will do a little standalone one. So those of you who want to get a real up close look to everything that goes into this, or maybe something to put on and watch while you're building your Sherpa.
Yeah,
That would be sweet.
absolutely. So you kind of like as you're building, you get to see.
You're listening to. Suddenly, I want a Sherpa. That clicked for
Suddenly.
me. That sounds really cool. That sounds like a great way to kill an afternoon. Not gonna lie. So yeah, check that out. That'll be coming to YouTube very, very soon. Otherwise, thanks for joining me, Landon.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.